The 2013 elections is shaping up to be an exciting one. We will give you a rundown of the events and issues that you need to know. I'm Mai Rodriguez and this is Elections 2013. With me is our resident election analyst, former COMELEC Commissioner, Attorney Gregorio Larrazabal. Hi, Goyo.
Evening, Mai.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
Even before the official campaign period, we've been bombarded with faces of candidates in TV ads, tarpaulins, buses, and even bags of relief goods. Many say this is a form of premature campaigning, and others simply call it epal, a slang for mapapel, a Filipino term for attention grabbers. Epal is also a reference to public officials who advertise themselves using government projects. Tonight we'll be talking about Epalitiks, or simply Epalitiks, and ask the question, how will this affect voters' perception in the upcoming midterm polls? Let's watch this.
Epal! 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 At epal pa rin! Alam nyo ba kung anong ibig sabihin ng epal at ng epalitiks? Alam mo ba kung ano yung mga epal?
Oo, yung mga mukha. Yung mga nasa tarp.
Mga nasa tarp?
Oo.
Ano yung mga yan? Anong pagtingin mo sa mga yan?
Parang kakasira sa imahe ng Pilipinas, saka kakasira pa sa environment.
Ano ba sa tingin mo epal? Ano ba yan?
Mga mapapel. Yung mga billboard na parating nakikita kung saan-saan sa mga nakasabit sa poste.
Tama po ba ang mga umi-epal?
Oo.
Why?
Nakaunang-una, nakakadumi sila sa paligid. At saka overexposed ang mga mukha nila at pangalan nila.
Epalitiks came from the root word epal, which is defined as a person who goes into a situation wherein his presence is not needed or in a place he does not belong. Recently, Epal politicians have been under scrutiny for putting their names and faces on banners and tarpaulins that wishes to greet their constituents for the holiday season. Some politicians even went as far as putting their faces in plastic bags used for relief goods, which were given to victims of Typhoon Pablo. But where do these politicians get the money for these gimmicks?
Eh di siyempre siguro, baka sa kabando ng bayan, di ba? Kasi na lang masakot yan, di ba? Yun lang ang ano ko kasi wala naman siguro siya na sariling perang gusto yan eh.
Iba dun ito, may mga sponsor naman yun. Ewan ko lang din yung iba kung sarili nilang pera. Alam ko sponsor lang yun. Kasi mga kaibigan din nila, mga friends nila.
Now that the 2013 polls is just around the corner, these actions are perceived to be premature campaigning. With the clamor for the Epalitiks to stop, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago and Senator Francis Cheese Escudero filed separate bills against Epals. Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago filed Senate Bill 1967, otherwise known as an act prohibiting public officers from claiming credit through signage announcing a public works project. Senator Cheese Escudero, for his part, filed Senate Bill 2187, an act declaring as unlawful any government projects to be named or identified after government officials and other persons whose name or identity may in any manner be associated with said officials. But with these bills still not being enacted to law, netizens and anti-Epal activists have taken upon themselves to campaign against the politicians. As the 2013 elections draws near, how will Epalitiks play in the electorate's choice of candidates? For Elections 2013, this is Joyce Ilas, Solar News.
Joining us for an exciting discussion is Vince Lazatin, Executive Director of the Transparency and Accountability Network and co-founder of No More Epal campaign. Good evening, Vince.
Good evening,
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
Okay, first of all, how do we know that a politician, or if a politician has gone overboard and is in fact guilty of Epalitiks?
Well, I think for as long as the politician's name or face appears on anything that is funded by public money, I think straight off that's already considered epal, because precisely these are publicly funded projects and structures that are funded by our tax money, and it's not through the grace of their goodness that we have it, but because it's their job to do such things.
It's been a common practice, of course, right? But do you see that nowadays people do mind already, like all the billboards, tarpaulins?
I think there has been we've created a certain level of awareness about this problem, and I think when we started the Facebook page back in May, it seemed that we tapped into a frustration among people about what was happening, and I think people just felt that there was no place to express that frustration. And I think the Facebook page that we put up was a venue for people to really express their anger and disgust and frustration, and you could see it in the posts that they made, in the pictures that they were posting, and the comments. If you read the comments on the Facebook page, you really see the anger of the people, and I think it created that venue for that.
But how do you convert the rage or the feedback on Facebook to the different barangays all over the Philippines who don't have access to the web but share the same sentiments? How do you make this go viral, if as they say?
That's really the challenge, because as we know, Facebook is an internet medium, and a lot of people don't have access to the internet. So it does have limited reach, but the reason we went through Facebook and through the internet, because it's free and it's easy to start a campaign on the internet without any money, because we don't have any money. And so the challenge really there, as you mentioned, is really how do we translate that, the anger through the Facebook page, to spread it wider and to really channel that anger into real change and reform. And I think that's something we're working on.
How's the reception outside of Facebook and Twitter when you actually go out on your tours?
I think what we've realized is that the campaign and the other campaigns that have been started because of this has really raised the level of awareness among people. I mean, when we did our tours in Quezon City and Parañaque, people instantly knew what we were doing, and they could relate to what we were doing. And the use of the word epal, we picked it up perhaps from Senator Santiago. She used it in her bill, has really become very common now. And people, will use it in everyday conversations nowadays. I think that has been very successful.
What about the politicians? Since you launched this campaign, were there actually public officials who voluntarily dismantled their billboards? Or?
Yeah, there have been quite a number of politicians that have started backing off on this practice. Notably, for example, Mayor Bautista in Quezon City. We noticed that the garbage trucks, which used to contain his name and face, now only contain his name, and it's much smaller now. The tiles in Quezon City that used to have HB for Herbert Bautista, they painted over the HB. The tiles are still there, but they painted. Mayor Lim issued an order asking all the tarpaulins that had his name and face to be removed. In Parañaque, after we did the tour in Parañaque, Vice Mayor Gus Tambuting had this huge tarpaulin removed. I mean, like 3 days after our tour.
But there are several types of tarpaulins which you notice, no? For example, the tarpaulins which announce that this is a project of so-and-so. But there are other tarpaulins saying that Happy Fiesta. Would you differentiate what you're going after?
Actually, all of that is epale. If you think about, for example, public works projects that say, project of so-and-so councilor, so-and-so mayor, again, that is public money. And there is no legitimate reason for any public official to put their name and face on a public project.
But is there a limit, or is there a like a standard you use to allow them to at least inform the public? For example, if I were the government official, I'd say, hey, I have to make people understand that this was a project which we facilitated. I'm not making epal, I'm just informing people. I'm not putting my face on it, but...
It could be a project of the mayor of Quezon City. That's all you really need to put. I mean, if you look at other countries, we don't have this problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you travel around the world, you travel locally in the region, you don't see politicians putting their names on public works projects. It'll say, a project of the city of Bangkok or whatever. And so that's all they need to do. And then
Because
it's
that
the
is
challenge.
their job, isn't
right,
it?
It's
It's
their
public
job.
service.
And they don't get extra, I don't think they should get extra credit for doing the job. You do your jobs, and you don't have tarpaulin saying, Maya Rodriguez is doing her job.
But you know what?
Thank you for
It's probably a ingenious way of campaigning. You know, informing
well,
people.
we're
Hey,
calling them out on that
yeah,
now.
yeah. So
But what is the most atrocious type of epal?
I think
You've seen
the
so
time
far.
that we got the most violent responses from the followers was during some of the relief efforts
The relief
during the
goods, yeah.
Habagat
Yeah,
back in September, because there are pictures coming in of politicians putting names on relief goods, and people really get very disgusted by that because it's really taking advantage of the situation where relief goods are coming in from perhaps international donors or local donors, and then the
They
local politicians
mislabel them?
will slap their name. I mean, we saw cans of sardines
With the name of
relabeled
politician, yeah.
with the name of the
they
politician.
just relabel, repack the relief goods and
Yeah.
with their bags.
with their
right?
bags, or they'll actually repackage the actual
Yeah.
can of sardines.
Wow.
But you've
Yeah.
called their attention to this, right?
Yeah, and some of them, you know, they'll back off and they'll make an excuse, or they'll say, oh, it wasn't me, it was our supporters who did it, you know, blah,
Or
blah.
it was, oh, that was my opponent who did it
yeah,
to
mga
destroy
ganon.
me.
Exactly. May mga ganon din.
Oh.
So, but we don't want to give them much space to wiggle out of it then.
So what is your assessment of epalitiks in this country? Is it garapalan na ba, or could it be helped?
I think, again, I think based on some of the comments and the posts that we're getting on the Facebook page, I think this is really the worst it has ever been. I mean, it's been creeping and creeping, and we can't even remember, we can't even trace back how far when this thing all started. But where you look around today, and everywhere you look, there's especially now, there's Christmas and Happy New Year.
Valentine's pa.
Malapit na yung Valentine's, or
Like
malapit
graduation.
graduation, malapit din yun. So all of this is, you know, it's all around us.
Yeah, and you've said before it speaks of a deeper problem
Oh,
in
yes.
Philippine politics.
Definitely.
Right?
I mean, you know, EPAL is only really the symptom. It's not really the problem. The symptoms are much deeper, and that is the patronage politics, the family dynasties, the political dynasties, campaign finance issues.
But have you set a goal for yourself? For example, your goal is to minimize politics in 2013, and you expect to see the benefits or the effects in 2016 or 2019. Do you have any?
I think this is certainly a long-term campaign, and I think we're not going to see significant difference in 2013. As you can see, tarps are all over the place. But I think what we want to do is really, over the years, is really make this something that is unacceptable to people. If you look at other countries, for example, they don't have anti-EPA laws.
They don't need to.
They don't need to, because the people
Exactly.
won't stand for it. And I think that's what we have to start doing here in this country. So it's nice that the Senator Santiago and Senator Escudero have their own bills, but for me, it's really about the people and what they're willing to
So
tolerate.
it's a culture.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk some more about this. Up next, we'll be joined by another anti-EPAL advocate. This is Elections 2013. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
No, shush.
I'll ask a question later.
Welcome back. We're still talking about Epalitiks. Still with us is Vince Lazatin, Executive Director of Transparency and Accountability Network. Also joining us is comedian Arvin Tado Jimenez, a staunch advocate of the anti-Epal campaign, who also led an Epal Hunt bike ride to expose Epaliticians. So Tado, tell us about this Epal Hunt bike ride.
Hi guys, good evening.
Hi.
Well, nagsimula lang yon nung I'm a bike commuter, so I bike all the time. So kinukunan ko lang ng mga pictures, yung mga ano, then pinopost ko sa fan page ko. Tapos naisip ko na parang magandang way yon para i-shame campaign yung mga politician at saka mas mabibilis at malayo mararating namin.
So, what areas have you taken pictures of these posters or tarpaulins?
Yung first Epal Hunt ride namin, na in-invite namin yung No More Epal group. Tapos, mikot kami from Katipunan, Quezon City area. Yun yung mga inabot namin. Pero yung ikalawa namin is nag-try kami ng 5 cities. Marikina, Cainta, Pasig, San Juan, then Quezon City, then back to Marikina.
Did you see any difference? For example, di ba when you went to Cainta, you took pictures, like you posted it on your fan page. Did you see after 2 days natanggal yung tarpaulins or was it still there?
It's the same.
Nandun pa din.
Ganun talaga eh. Epalitiks nga eh. Makakapal talaga mukha.
And this is Metro Manila pa lang, ha? What more kung nationwide if you go to the provinces, di ba?
Yeah, there's been a lot of demand from the provinces for things like the Epal Hunt bike ride or others to go out there and create some stir. And I mean, neither of us, I think, have much money to run these campaigns, so we're not able to go out. But one of the followers in Ilocos actually did their own. I mean, they self-organized. They got inspired by what was happening here in Metro Manila, and they ran their own anti-Epal
So
ride.
basically, you planted the seeds of ideas into people who want to do what you're doing but didn't know how to do it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's what we tell people on the Facebook page, that don't expect us to come down and help you guys out. I mean it's everybody doing everything that they can, and within a few weeks of starting the Facebook page, some guy started up the first, what we call a chapter. He started his own anti-Epal Pampanga, and then Batangas, then Batan, and now we have like 100 different chapters. Well, we call them chapters, but people just started their own little efforts in their own localities, and that's
good
what we wanted
news.
to
But
happen,
how
yeah.
far have you reached?
Well, 100 chapters. I mean, so that's more than there are provinces. I mean,
Yeah.
there are only 70 plus provinces.
Does this go as
80
far as
provinces,
in the southern region, in
Yes,
Mindanao?
we see, although I'm not, I haven't seen anything specific in Mindanao, but we have in the south, definitely.
But like the idea of Tado and Vince, no, is there a way to harmonize all these groups and institutionalize the idea na parang, kasi sooner or later you'll move into other things or you might be busy, so you institutionalize it, so it's not personality based, it's not only like Tado going on a bike ride, but you create the idea and you institutionalize it so anyone can do it using a form or structure. Is that possible?
Yeah, my group, my Supportado Ka Namin movement, it's a fan base, but we are pushing for, we call it like epalitiracy. And,
Epalitiracy.
yeah, it's like
Nice.
our idea of epalitiracy is pushing for a congress, like a forum, then we settle on things.
Kasi I think
Kasi wala pa naman talagang never been done na magkaroon ng isang malawakang pagtitipon, congress about talking about the Epal thing.
because like it was mentioned kanina, no, na I think this is only a symptom eh.
Yeah.
It's basically the culture, so we need to stop. We need to start looking at that
Deeper
problem.
problems, yes.
And I think it's going to take a long time, but there has to be political will to do.
start.
Yeah, it has to.
For all we know, ang may against lang naman dito, yung mga middle class lang. Pero yung mga urban poor dyan sa hindi nila yun eh.
They don't understand it. Maybe they don't understand it. Kasi if you put a tarpaulin, after 3 months, yung tarpaulin, they will use sa tricycle nila.
Yeah.
Di ba? For sa kanila, sige, lagay kayo dyan, you put tarpaulins because I can use it after. Di ba?
No, political pa na, parang bakit ka galit dyan, Epal? Eh, yan yung nagbigay sa akin ng noodles, yan yung nagbigay sa akin ng ano. Eh, okay lang, bumati lang siya ng Happy Fiesta. Ganun yung ano nila.
So meron pa rin...
Oo, kaya we are pushing for Epal education. Ganun talaga. We should intensify more shame campaign.
meron pa rin ina-accept yung practice na to, no?
For a long time, it's been accepted. I think both what Tado is doing and others are doing in terms of raising the awareness has really gotten people to have a lower tolerance for this
Pero
kind
in the
of things.
grassroots level, especially sa, in a larger market, ano ang reception? Because I think sila, do you think mas tolerant sila sa ganitong
I have no
practice?
feel because the Facebook page, of course, is really limited to those who are
Have access
have access to
Yes.
it.
But on
Right.
Yes.
people in,
But on the
urban,
ground.
urban, they don't
But you know
appreciate
what?
things.
Even if it's just a small fraction or of the total voting population, it gives people ideas. Eh.
Yes.
Na like what you mentioned, Vince, no, na you're doing it here, but now you have 100 chapters. Tado, yung fan page mo na there might be a fan sa Aurora na, wait, I want to do this. Diba? You're giving them ideas. So this should be institutionalized. So it should be more structured para mas effective, di ba? Next thing you know, in a few years, you'll be accredited by Comelec as a Citizens Watch Group, di ba?
Sabi ko,
Diba?
Why not?
It's possible.
Why not?
It's possible. It's possible.
Pero Tado, meron pa ba tayong politicians sa tingin mo? Mga local officials na hindi nagre-resort to epalitics?
Sad to say, parang yun yung talagang idea nila to advertise themselves. So, bukod dun sa yun talaga yung lantaran na gusto nilang makita. Kasi even our congressman sa amin, do against siya doon, pero wala, yun yung way niya para malaman ng tao na yun yung kanyang ginagawa.
In a sense, it's an arms race with the politicians and the candidates. If you see your opponent has tarps, then you have to put your own tarp. And it becomes an arms race that way. And so there has to be a conscious effort to ease everyone off of it and lower the arms race.
But do you think, Vince, voters today are ready to drive away Epal politics? Like you said earlier, it's largely like, for now, it's online based, right, the campaign, but it has to go out there somehow.
Yeah, definitely does. And the message we're trying to send out is don't vote for the politicians.
We are pushing that may suportado ka na bubuwet is yung Epal ngayon, the anti-Epal is the new anti-trapo movement. Kasi Epal, yun yung ginagawa ng mga traditional politicians. So yung wala nang anti-trapo movement. So the new anti-trapo movement is the anti-Epal.
But what if I'm a I'll put myself in a situation where newbie in politics. I'm a new candidate. The people don't know me. So the only way for people to know me is for me to put tarpaulins. Happy birthday, happy fiesta, congratulations, Merry Christmas. So people will know me. That's a form of campaigning. So that's in effect a newbie using traditional politics methods. Right?
Pero that's why mag-leveling up tayo kung ano yung meaning or ano yung what is Epal and what is not.
That's why we have to change.
Yeah,
that, right?
and I don't agree that that's the only way a newbie can get known is through posting of.
That's one of the ways. One of the ways.
Yeah,
Kasi
but
it's very effective.
traditional way.
It's
Yeah.
like even Halloween or All Souls Day, you could already see tarpaulins
In the
in
cemetery.
cemeteries.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen tarpaulins in cemeteries.
It's crazy.
It is.
Tado, I have to ask you, di ba you ran in Marikina back in 2010. How did you conduct your campaign?
We ran as an independent because dati yung aming party is not accredited by Comelec, but now we run again and we are accredited by the Comelec. So the same, the traditional, mahirap, gapang, the works, everything na ginagawa, handshake and everything. But I have no tarpaulin since I have no budget.
But are you concerned your critics will say that your advocacy now may be some sort of, some way of getting back at them?
No. Kasi naman, ang definition naman natin ng Epal is as a government official, kung ikaw ay government official, ay dapat wala ka ng karapatan para i-advertise mo yung mga ginagawa. Kung gano'n yung ating pamantayan, so hindi ko naman yung magagawa.
So what you're saying is, kaibigan mo or kaaway mo, it doesn't matter. If you're doing something wrong, then you should stop. Correct?
Kasi nga, ang sinasabi namin, magpakita ka sa gawa, wag mong ipamuka. That's the basic kung ano eh. Kung nagpapakita ka ng gawa, wag mong ipamuka, hindi mo na kailangan ibandera ng ano.
But this one, how do we make this viral, as they say? I said it before, no? But how do we make this spread faster? How do we make it catch fire? How do we make people jump into the idea and wholeheartedly and join your advocacy? That's the important thing, because it's like if a few people do it, it's nice, it's good, it's effective, but after a while it will die down. But if you convince people to join your advocacy, to share your ideals, then the idea lives on. How do we do that?
We should intensify, as I said, the shame campaign. Shame, shame, shame on them forever.
Forever.
Never support the bill. Kasi sa dami ng dapat nating ipasang bill, we don't need the bill. Kasi parang common sense na lang eh. Hindi natin kailangan yung bill na yun.
Do you think we need an anti-EPA law? There's a bill proposed by Senator Santiago and Escudero.
Well, the problem with the anti-EPA law is the very same people who are benefiting from EPA are the ones going to legislate anti-EPA, so it doesn't really make sense. I don't give that much
Just like
chance.
the anti-dynasty bill.
Anti-dynasty. You expect the congressman to file a bill or support a bill that would stop them from putting up tarps. It's hard to believe that.
So for now, without this law, what can we do as concerned citizens?
I think what we want to do is really get people to get involved with their local politicians. So for example, if you live, whatever city you live in, and you see the posters of your mayor, vice mayor, write them and tell them you don't want to see that. I mean, it's just that simple.
In Asia, there's a unique phenomenon because all over Asia, people vote in accordance to party politics. In Philippines, it's personality-based.
Yes.
Do you think in the Philippines, it's Epalitiks is popular because you vote based on the personality? Now, when you see a poster, makita mo muka, hindi naman, that's not a party ideology. That's you're voting because you like that person, di ba?
You know the guy.
You think it's also good now we should focus on, changing culture and focusing on party policies?
Yes, remember that Apple is really just a symptom of the deeper problems. One of the deeper problems, as you point out, is a lack of strong political parties. And because of that, people rely on their face, on individuals running, on family dynasties. The family dynasty has replaced the political party. And so we really have to strengthen political parties to get away from these practices.
But what about the Peñera case?
The Peñera versus Comelec.
Well,
yeah, exactly. This is what I wanted to explain, Goyo. Because you've said earlier, premature campaigning is not covered by the Fair Elections Act.
1969.
Yeah. Because the Supreme Court came up with a decision, Peñera versus Comelec, stating that before the start of the campaign period, candidate is not considered a candidate for purposes of premature campaigning. So they're only covered by the requirements and limits of campaign spending, campaign airtime during the campaign period. Before that, everyone can do whatever they want. But that's the limit we have now, because that's a limitation, because the Supreme Court came up with a decision and Comelec has to follow the decision, or Congress has to pass another law.
First of all, the Supreme Court has decided in 2009 to decriminalize premature campaigning.
Yes.
So the Comelec now is saying it's not an election offense.
Because before the start of the campaign period, at the start, when the campaign period starts, that's when Comelec can clamp down on these posters na vote for me, ganyan. But before that, they can't, because these people who file their certificate of candidacies are not yet considered candidates for purposes of violation of the law.
All right, Vince, you've teamed up with, and your groups have teamed up with the Comelec to fight EPALs. How's this going so far?
Well, we met with Commissioner Brillantes and some of the other commissioners a while ago, because it was something that Chairman Brillantes had also taken note of, this whole EPAL phenomenon. And while the Comelec is Goyo said earlier, the Comelec is limited in its ability to enforce pre-campaigning laws because of this Peñera decision. What Chairman Brillantes was saying is that the citizens then will take it into their hands. and determine what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So that's where there was some sort of agreement with Chairman Brillante.
So when will your tours be, and when and where you can invite our viewers to join your campaign?
Well, so far kami wala pang schedule because
Maybe
Yeah.
your Facebook page.
yeah, the Facebook page
Yeah,
is
visit the Facebook.
facebook.com/nomoreepal. And for the latest news on what we're doing, we always post it there, and you can follow it there. And you can post your own pictures and make your own comments.
And Tado?
Oh, I'm announcing our Epal contest. We call it Paint My Epal. So if you have like an Epal poster there, put some ears, put some pangil, and like that, and everything.
Where
And
can
then
they post it?
pictures it and send us to us. Suportado Ka Namin movement will give you a prize like 10,000 pesos. Yeah, it's
We'll post
Okay.
tomorrow. I'm
Yeah.
sure people will post tomorrow.
Paint My Epal.
Paint My Epal. And what website
app?
again? What website?
Suportado Ka Namin
Suportado
movement.
Ka Namin movement. All right. We would like to thank our guests, Vince Lazatin and Tado, for joining us here in the studio for a very exciting discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again next week as we tackle issues that matter to you. I'm Mai Rodriguez, and this is Elections 2013.